In the ongoing battle against tumors, traditional X-ray radiation therapy acts much like a blunt, penetrating beam. It passes completely through the human body, destroying the tumor's DNA, but simultaneously leaving severe, unavoidable damage to perfectly healthy tissues along both its entry and its exit paths. However, there is a massive machine, weighing hundreds of tons and built with quantum-level precision, that does something seemingly defying the normal laws of physics. It takes the universe's most fundamental building block, the simple hydrogen atom, strips away its electron, and accelerates the core protons to an astonishing speed of over 180,000 kilometers per second. That is roughly 60% the speed of light. Then, it fires this incredibly fast particle beam directly into the body. But instead of passing all the way through, this beam travels quietly and safely through the healthy tissue, with almost no harm. It abruptly stops at a precise, three-dimensional coordinate located deep inside the tumor, releases a devastating burst of destructive energy, and leaves almost no radiation dose behind it. This is not a medical miracle. This is a proton therapy cyclotron applying a fundamental physical phenomenon known as the Bragg Peak. And in order to control invisible particles moving at near light speeds, engineers had to build one of the most complex mechanical and electromagnetic systems ever created. From outside the sterile treatment room, the patient only sees a clean wall and a seemingly simple radiation nozzle. In reality, that quiet room is just the very tip of a massive, hidden mechanical system. Right behind that wall is the Gantry. It is a colossal, cylindrical steel frame weighing over 100 tons, standing as tall as a three-story building. This massive gantry has the ability to rotate a full 360 degrees around the patient, moving with sub-millimeter precision. Running along the structure of the gantry is the beamline, a complex network of vacuum tubes and giant steering magnets that acts just like a precision gun barrel to guide the particle beam. If we follow this beamline backward, we finally reach the true heart of the entire system, the cyclotron. It is an ultra-dense, cylindrical metal block, housing a powerful superconducting magnet system cooled by liquid helium to near absolute zero. At the exact center of this extreme environment is a vacuum chamber and a dedicated source of pure hydrogen gas. Everything starts right here, where the hydrogen is injected to prepare for a brutal physical journey. The greatest enemy in this feat of engineering is not the tumor itself, but rather the sheer, uncontrollable nature of excess energy. Traditional X-rays are electromagnetic waves with absolutely no mass. When entering a physical medium, they release their highest energy level right at the skin's surface, gradually losing their intensity as they travel deeper. If a tumor is 15 centimeters deep, the X-rays will inevitably destroy a large amount of healthy tissue before reaching the target, and they will continue penetrating right through the other side of the body. Protons are entirely different. Because they possess physical mass and a positive electrical charge, they interact directly with cellular electrons as they fly past them. But the physical limit here is this: how do you force a subatomic particle, flying at 180,000 kilometers per second, to obediently turn left, turn right, navigate through a rotating 100-ton machine, and know exactly when to stop? If the energy calculation is off by just a few percent, the proton beam will stop too early, completely failing to destroy the tumor, or go too deep, causing irreversible damage to vital organs located right behind it. This is an extreme particle dynamics problem, requiring absolute magnetic control at both the macro and micro levels. To solve this incredibly complex problem, engineers use powerful magnetic and electric fields to act as invisible guiding hands. First, at the exact center of the cyclotron, the hydrogen gas is violently stripped of its electrons, leaving behind only positively charged protons. Inside the vacuum chamber, there are two semicircular electrodes known as Ds. These Ds are connected to a high-powered radio frequency alternating current source. The electric field between these two Ds rapidly reverses its direction tens of millions of times every single second. Every time a proton crosses the gap between the two poles, it is kicked by a massive electric force, causing it to aggressively accelerate. Simultaneously, The giant superconducting magnet creates a massive vertical magnetic field covering the entire vacuum chamber. Following the laws of the Lorentz force, this intense magnetic field bends the proton's trajectory. The faster the proton travels, the more the magnetic field bends its path, forcing it into an expanding outward spiral. The proton spirals further and further from the center, continually accelerated by the electric kicks until it reaches its specific target energy level, typically around 230 mega-electron volts, which is equivalent to 60% the speed of light. At this exact point, it is shot out of the cyclotron by a specialized deflector magnet and enters the beamline. But the deepest secret that makes this entire machine work is the physics behind the Bragg Peak. The amount of energy a proton releases into the surrounding medium is inversely proportional to the square of its velocity. When it first enters the body at extremely high speeds, the proton spends very little time interacting with the surrounding electrons, leaving very little radiation behind. But as it gradually loses kinetic energy and begins to slow down, the probability of it colliding and pulling electrons out of their orbits increases exponentially. In the final millimeters before coming to a complete stop, the proton releases almost all of its remaining destructive energy in one sudden, violent burst. This massive energy spike is the Bragg Peak, and immediately after that peak occurs, the radiation level drops to nearly zero. The entire facility now coordinates like a perfect, flawless physical symphony. The hydrogen atom begins its journey at the center of the cyclotron, spirals outward, and is accelerated to extreme speeds by the radio frequency and the superconducting magnets. After successfully leaving the cyclotron, the proton beam travels through the long beamline vacuum tube. Because the protons are electrically charged, they are strictly controlled by powerful magnetic fields to ensure they avoid touching the physical tube walls. Quadrupole magnets placed along the beamline act as invisible electromagnetic lenses. They continuously focus and bend the beam's trajectory, safely guiding it through the countless complex curves of the massive gantry as it rotates smoothly around the patient. To precisely control the depth of the Bragg Peak, the system does not actually change the speed of the cyclotron itself. Instead, it passes the high-speed beam through a dedicated device called an energy degrader, typically consisting of graphite or plastic blocks of varying thickness. As the proton beam passes through this dense material, it is physically braked, losing a precisely calculated amount of kinetic energy. The lower the kinetic energy, the shallower the proton penetrates into the patient. The higher the kinetic energy, the deeper it goes. By perfectly combining the gantry's firing angle, the magnetic scanning magnets, and the energy degrader, the machine literally paints three-dimensional Bragg peaks. It precisely fills the exact volume of the tumor, layer by layer, from the deepest section all the way out to the shallowest. The proton therapy system is much more than just an advanced medical tool. It is an absolute masterpiece of particle manipulation engineering. It starts by using giant, supercooled magnets to control one of the universe's smallest particles, forcefully accelerating it to near light speeds within an absolute vacuum environment. It successfully solves the unwanted devastation caused by conventional radiation therapy by exploiting the strict mathematical properties of electrostatic interaction and kinetic energy, turning the natural Bragg Peak phenomenon into an incredibly sharp, life-saving weapon. The cyclotron has effectively turned simple protons into smart bombs at the subatomic level. These particles are detonated exactly at a specific three-dimensional space inside the human body, perfectly protecting the healthy tissues and bringing a completely new chance at life, utilizing the most fundamental laws of physics.